So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and I want to give you my 2 months later review on the iPhone 17 Pro Max versus the 16 Pro Max after upgrading from the 16 Pro Max to this device. Now, I switched off from the 16 Pro, but what I mean is that this was my previous Max device, and then I went to this one. So let's discuss what the difference have been and if they kind of been worth it for me, because honestly, the 17 Pro Max has been a phone I just can't really seem to put down. We're going to start with the overall body of this device. I will tell you that I haven't loved the actual body more in terms of the premium feel. I do think the design is growing on me, and I do really like the cosmic orange because I think it stands out much more than the previous 16 Pro Max, and I like to see more colors make their way to the Max line. Now, for those of you who love orange, you already have your favorite color that had got launched here, but I like to see maybe in the spring or maybe sooner more colors using this process. The aluminum also feels really nice to hold in the corners and stuff of that sort, but honestly, it feels slipperier. This phone just feels like it slips out of the hand more to me. I've actually dropped it many more times than the sharper edged iPhone 16 Pro Max. And generally, when I pick up the 16 Pro Max, I feel like the device just feels a little bit more high cost, if you will. It definitely feels more premium. So that's just one thing I noted, and I think that's due to the titanium frames, the clean glass back. It's just very clean and minimal and just premium. It just exudes that premium feel. This exudes to me more of a functional. We got the nice thermals, the two-tone. We're trying to look different here. Kind of has that vibe going on to it. But generally, they both feel pretty durable. I do feel a little bit more confident with the iPhone 16 Pro Max still holding it. So I actually always have the iPhone 17 Pro Max in a case for the majority of the time. Whereas with the 16 Pro Max, I had that one out of the case a little bit more. But either way, both of them can get damaged if you drop them hard enough or on the right particular surface. Generally, though, 3 months later, I got to say that the design upgrades haven't been overly impressing me, but they definitely got me with the color. I'm not gonna kid. I do like when the color stands out. It's just because the 17 Pro Max, because the 16 Pro Max and prior Maxes have been same color for so long, I just like that. So I want to see a red version, maybe purple, green, something like that again, just to give you some more color options. That would be really nice for the Pro Maxes. Alright guys, so let's take it on to the display. Now both of these do have the 6.9 inch display. They essentially have the same bezels as well. So really there is no real feeling difference. The iPhone 17 Pro Max actually has a brighter screen, but the truth of the matter is that you won't really take advantage of that too much until you take this phone outdoors. But generally it is a brighter screen. So brighter is always going to be better for outdoor usage. Over the 16 Pro Max especially, but indoors you're probably not cranking up to those levels anyway. One of the things about the 17 Pro Max though is it has better anti-reflective properties, so from different angles it does look better. And you know, even though these don't have the highest pixels per inch, when I come to a phone that has like a higher pixel density, a sharper overall panel, I come back to the 17 Pro Max and I still feel like it looks better calibrated, or for some reason it just looks great. So even with its not highest resolution on the market, it still looks great. But coming from a 16 Pro Max, it doesn't really feel like a substantial upgrade in any real way, shape, and form. Both of them are 120 hertz, and both of them are very impressive. So don't sleep on the 16 Pro Max. If you're looking for a deal, you find this one cheaper, you are essentially getting the same exact display with slightly less brightness than the iPhone 17 Pro Max. So, and when I say slightly, I don't mean that 1,000, this is not a big deal. I'm just saying that the majority of people will slightly notice that, because most of the time, the 16 Pro Max really is plenty bright enough to begin with. One of the cons of both of these panels, though, is that you can't actually split screen or take any functionality of them. So it continues to disappoint me year over year, having one app at a time on the screen. It just makes no absolute sense to me whatsoever that I can't do any type of split screen floating windows. No real advantage being taken of these panels. It just makes no sense to me. Overall, I just feel like I'm using a blown up iPhone with more space, and I do appreciate it. I do like having more space for media consumption, typing on a bigger keyboard, but at the end of the day, a few months later, I cannot stop going back to my Android devices to get my multitasking on when need be. When it happens, and you need it, you really notice it. I feel like I got to go to the iPad to get any type of multitasking or serious productivity stuff done. as I'm so locked into one. Here's an example. If you're shopping for something online, let's say, I'm just going to use the App Store example. Let's say you're in this application, but you need to go calculate something, or you need to calculate a price for something. You got to go back into the application. Maybe you're buying an app. You got to go back to the calculator, check your calculation, go like this. And let's say you're planning an event here and you want to go ahead and check something else, maybe the time of the event, and go ahead and make a clock or something. You got to go back, check when the event is, go to the application and tweak that. It gets old. This app switching stuff, I'm not a big fan of that, when we could just have a small pop window or some kind of like split screen. The only real multitasking comes via YouTube PIP, which is picture in picture, and that's just mostly through YouTube, so it's not really too much of an advantage on that front. Now, when it comes to performance, I do think the 17 Pro Max is a bit better than the 16 Pro Max due to its higher RAM, higher clock speed, but in all reality, I never was slowed down on the 16 Pro Max either, so I don't really feel like majority of users are actually going to notice much of the difference there either, from pure performance perspective. So don't sleep on the 16 Pro Max if you find one on a deal. It's really that strong still when it comes to performance. I mean, look at the difference in these scores. They're not like night and day. Like, both of them are in the 3000 in single, 8100 okay in the multi-core. The iPhone 17 Pro Max has better thermals, could actually sustain graphical performance longer. But here's the deal: are you actually playing games that are going to make your 16 Pro Max choke? I highly doubt it. Most of the iOS App Store games are going to run fine on both of them. So those of you with a 17 Pro or 16 Pro Max, don't be too feeling like you're behind at all, because you're not. 6-core graphics on there, just like the iPhone 17 Pro Max. So it's just not, the performance is just not that big of a deal. It really isn't. Now, moving on to the cameras, I like that Apple did retain the camera control from the iPhone 17 or 16 Pro Max. You do kind of get used to it after a while, and it just becomes this easy button to fire off the camera. But the real upgrades come in the way of all of the phones now, or all the 17 Pro Maxes have the same kind of sensor, 48 megapixel across, much more zoom, and honestly, it's been a joy. I actually really like the camera upgrades on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, especially the center stage camera. I've been talking about this a lot of videos, but it really is handy when you're taking pictures of people, group photos, things of that sort. Being able to back out wide and see everyone in frame more than almost any other phone on the market is a really big deal to me. Also, the rear cameras here, having that consistency on each lens makes every single shot really look very, very in sync with everything else, and I really do like it. It reminds me a lot of the 13 Pro Max when it had all of the 12 megapixel cameras that were super same quality. I really enjoyed that. Now, you could see right here on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, are these camera lenses good? Yes, but they're not all as consistent. We do have two 48 megapixels and then one 12 megapixel. So they definitely aren't zooming as farther either, 25 times, and you can see it gets a bit noisy at 25x, 40 times for the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Now, I like that we still have the camera control button, and the front-facing camera is pretty good, but look how much closer it is. Like, it's way closer. So if you're doing selfie photos, group photos, this is not the one. 17 Pro Max will be. I just think every year they are ticking up the camera, so of course 3 months later I've been much happier with the cameras on the 17 Pro Max. But are they life-changing? Absolutely not. If you still want a 16 Pro Max, these could be life-changing over a previous phone that you had, because they're still beating a ton of phones on the market today. They were in fact the best cameras on an iPhone last year. So that's just the deal. You know, you're getting much more here on the 17 Pro Max, but if you get a 16 Pro Max used or anything like that, you're still winning because those cameras are still flawless. Now, a couple other areas I want to talk about in this phone comparison here is that a few months later, the battery has been substantially better on the iPhone 17 Pro Max. I mean, we're talking to the tune of a couple hours per charge. This is a pretty substantial upgrade. So if you do like super long battery life, there is no question. Don't even entertain the 16 Pro Max versus a 17 Pro Max. However, if you want really good battery life, but you're okay with a everyday top off, maybe a day and a quarter top off, you'll be still very happy with the 16 Pro Max. But if you're like that person who wants that 2-day, you want that extra long battery life, you're gonna probably I'm gonna steer you towards the 17 Pro Max. It's definitely pretty noticeable upgrade. Both of them are rated for up to like 1,000 cycles before they start having an issue with battery not being as good as day one. But at the end of the day, you do have a larger overall capacity on that iPhone 17 Pro Max. So it's not just a spec sheet. It is very noticeable actually. So that's just something I had to mention over my experience. You'll get over 5,000 milliamps over here versus 4685. But the iPhone 16 Pro Max is still kind of like, as good as maybe a 17 Pro. It's still up there. So we're not super behind. You're doing fine. You're doing really fine right here. But you're just kind of getting to the level of like ridiculous battery over here. I mean, they're still not beating those silicon carbon, but I'm talking about for lithium ion batteries. This is one of the best you can go ahead and get here on the iPhone 17 Pro Max. That is for sure. I want to go ahead and talk about a couple other features. You do have faster Bluetooth connectivity on here. A little bit faster charging, I noticed. Also, they both have the same Wi-Fi 6E 7 support, so both of these can rock out on some of the fastest Wi-Fi standards on the market. We do have ourselves kind of like the same button location. I don't really love this antenna on top of the iPhone 17 Pro Max. After a few months, it still irks me because it's just not a beautiful design look. You'll see over here we do have ourselves action buttons, power buttons right there. At the bottom, they kind of have that same overall look here. And generally, it's kind of hard to find any real flaws with either. Both of them are pretty substantially powerful devices. But I have to give some cons here because not everything is perfect. Face ID is pretty good on both though. But where the iPhone 17 Pro Max needs, to me, some upgrades is going to be, again, in charging. It could charge a lot faster than it does. Let's be real. It is charged faster than before, but it could charge even better. That's for sure. We're kind of at the point where, can we get like Dynamic Island out of there, please? Like that's something I would say for the 17 Pro Max. If we could find a way to get that off my phone, that would look nicer. I'm just in the design. I really like good design, and this is good design, but it also, that to me, it's just a no. Like goodbye. And then the iPhone 17 Pro Max, you could say it could get a little bit lighter somehow, maybe with a silicon carbon battery. So that would be nice for even bigger and more advanced battery technology. So that's how I would improve this phone over here. For the 16 Pro Max, you've seen the improvements already. I think they kind of nailed it with the 16 Pro Max. It's kind of like the most refined of this version of the phone. It does have titanium build. It looks sleek. It feels sleek. It's pretty light. It's actually lighter than the 17 Pro Max. And overall, the only real cons to me are the lack of app switching here. Again, Dynamic Island, same thing. I would like to see all screen on either phone. But generally, there's not too many cons with either. They're just. I feel like I have to nitpick to find the cons. So that's my take 3 months later. If I could do it again, I would. If I was not upgrading for the channel, I probably wouldn't have upgraded. I always upgrade to go ahead and give you guys reviews. Of course, like you guys are probably waiting for the review. I'm not gonna not give you the review. So of course I'm gonna go pick it up for the channel. But if I was as a regular person using it, honestly, probably wouldn't even be on the 16 Pro Max. I'd probably be on the 15 Pro Max still, if I'm being real with you. But yeah, if I was on the 16 Pro Max, I probably wouldn't upgrade if I was you. But at the same time, you're not gonna be disappointed if you do decide I want those extra features. That's the way I look at it. So you can win either way. It's a win-win. If you keep it, you're winning. If you upgrade, you're getting a better phone, you're still winning. But if you want something completely different, it doesn't feel completely different like if you jumped over to a Z Fold 7 or something like that. That's like a totally different world. But thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great rest of your Friday, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.